Cryptostasis shutdown complete. Vital signs stable.
In a sense, there's nothing here we haven't seen before. Hers is a face we know very well, and though they hide mysteries of their own, we at least know what those eyes have seen. We know where she's been, and since her current surroundings aren't all that different from her prior ones, we have a pretty good idea where she's going. Samus Aran isn't doing anything new in Metroid Prime 3. She's just doing it better. Released for the Wii less than a year after the system launched, Corruption is the bittersweet finale of the Metroid Prime trilogy, an incredible subset of Metroid games from Retro Studios. After 8 years of dormancy, Retro revived the inactive Metroid franchise by reinventing it, pulling the camera behind the visor for 2002's spectacular Metroid Prime and its foreboding 2004 sequel, Echoes. In a general perspective, Corruption fits somewhere in between. It's not quite as spectacular as Prime or as foreboding as Echoes. On those grounds, it can't compete with its predecessors. And yet Corruption shines in areas the others didn't, illuminating inadequacies that didn't seem so inadequate until this one provided the contrast. Corrupt as Samus has become, she controls better than ever. Corruption picks up the Prime saga 6 months after the events of Echoes. Massive asteroids pulsing with the alien toxin Phazon are slamming into nearby planets, slowly infecting them and poisoning their inhabitants. Perhaps a foreshadowing of the tragedy which befell the planet Talon 4 in the first Metroid Prime, Samus is sent to explore the affected planets and destroy the seeds of their corruption. In a cruel twist of irony, the one being she can't cleanse is herself. Of course, interesting as it may be for Metroid fans, Corruption is not defined by its story. When the space dust finally settles and old enemies are defeated, you walk away from this game remembering one thing: how effortlessly you controlled it. Make no mistake, after playing with Corruption's silky smooth controls, you wonder how you played the first 2 Prime games without them. Corruption's controls can be dissected into 2 components. You got pointer and you got motion. As with most really good first-person games on Wii, controlling Samus's arm cannon with a pointer makes dual analog feel slow and, frankly, archaic in contrast. As most seasoned Wii players can attest, though, that's not much of a surprise. The unexpected benefit of Corruption's controls, and what makes the game feel even more satisfying to play, is the deftness with which Retro uses motion. For example, Samus is equipped with a grapple beam you can use by throwing forward with the Wii's nunchuck attachment. Now, the motion may sound gimmicky, but throwing her beam forward and then quickly tugging it back to open a barricade is indescribably satisfying. That kind of immersive and tasteful motion control is sprinkled throughout Corruption, elevating this Metroid Prime to a level of immersion its predecessors couldn't reach. I mean, gazing at her world through Samus's visor is one thing, but using your hands to break that fourth wall that separates you from the stinging winds of the planet Brio, for example, is another entirely. With a fittingly moody soundtrack and, as you'd expect from Retro, some of the best art design in the industry, exploring the diverse worlds of Corruption is as atmospheric and Metroid as any fan could demand. And yet, as with the first 2 Prime titles, this isn't a game for everyone. The overwhelming density of this 20-hour campaign, much of which is spent simply exploring vast extraterrestrial landscapes and delving into their subterranean halls, may pace a little too slowly for players expecting a shooter. This game is not a shooter. Rather, Metroid Prime 3 Corruption is a moody and isolated adventure one can only describe as Metroid.